Welcome to the Emotions of Life channel. Like the video, subscribe and enjoy the story. Maria was at home, alone with her two small children when the phone rang. The line was silent for a few seconds until a deep yet gentle voice echoed from the other end. "Maria, is that you?" The voice asked, sounding almost familiar but strangely unsettling at the same time. She paused, listening carefully as her fingers trembled slightly on the phone. How did this person know her name? "Who is this?" she asked, trying to mask her discomfort. Her eyes instinctively moved toward the window as if the sound of the voice had come from somewhere unknown. "It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is what you can do for me. I need help, and I believe you are the only one who can assist me. Would you like to earn an amount of money that would change your life?" Maria didn't respond immediately. The offer was tempting, but something felt off. Why her? A single mother with no special qualifications. Why would she be chosen for such an important task? And who was this mysterious voice? "What do you want from me?" she asked, feeling fear creeping in. She knew that one wrong decision could change everything. "I need you to come to my house. I want you to help me with a small task. It's not difficult, Maria. Just something simple." The voice spoke so calmly that it felt impossible to resist. "I am a very wealthy man and you will be well compensated." Maria hesitated. How could a millionaire need something so simple? Is he joking? She wondered. But soon, fear transformed into an urgent need. She looked at her children, sleeping on the couch, and knew this was the opportunity she had been waiting for. "What do you need me to do?" she asked, her voice steadier now, though she still felt the weight of doubt. "I need you to come to my house, Maria, and change my diaper." The voice remained incredibly calm, but the impact of the words hit her like a blow. She fell silent, unable to process. Change his diaper? How did he have the audacity to make such a request? And why her? "What do you mean?" Maria finally managed to stammer. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Is this some kind of joke?" "No, Maria. This is not a joke. I need this. And when you get here, you will understand why. The money I can offer you is more than you can imagine. Think carefully. Your life and your children's lives could change in an instant." Maria felt the weight of the decision. What should she do? Should she trust this unusual offer? Something told her this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, but there was something unsettling about his voice. Something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what. As she stood there, still holding the phone, the question lingered in her mind. Why is he asking me for this? It was an impossible request to ignore. And with her heart racing, Maria made an impulsive decision. She hung up the phone, took a deep breath, and began to prepare. But what she didn't know was that by accepting this strange request, she was about to enter a world of secrets, mysteries, and events that would change her life forever. Why had he chosen Maria? And what was really happening in that house? Maria never imagined that an ordinary phone call could turn her life upside down so abruptly. The invitation had been accepted, and now she stood in front of an imposing mansion. The iron gate slowly opened, revealing a house grander than she had ever imagined. The facade was a monument of luxury, every detail carefully designed, and everything around it overflowed with wealth. She swallowed hard and looked at her children, still in the back of the car. Fear and doubt consumed her. Am I making the right choice? Will they understand? What if something goes wrong? The questions piled up in her mind. But the man's voice still echoed in her head. "The money you will receive will change everything. Don't worry." She quickly composed herself and walked to the front door, where a stern-looking butler awaited her. He opened the door but didn't say a word. He just looked at her with a piercing gaze as if he knew exactly what she was thinking. Why am I here? Maria stepped inside hesitantly, feeling increasingly out of place. The interior of the mansion was even more breathtaking. White and gold marble, exquisite furniture, and soft lighting that made everything seem more surreal than ever. She could barely process everything around her. The butler led her through long hallways, whose walls were adorned with priceless paintings, sculptures, and tapestries. Each step seemed to take her further from the world she knew, isolating her in an unfamiliar environment. But the strongest feeling invading her was that of being watched, as if the eyes of the house were on her, even when no one spoke. Finally, they reached the end of the corridor. The door was slightly ajar. The butler, without saying a word, simply pointed toward the entrance and left, leaving Maria alone. She swallowed hard and stepped into the room. There, lying on an enormous velvet bed, was the man she had come to help. But he was not what she had imagined. He was weak, pale, his eyes barely visible due to exhaustion and the fragility of his body. But upon seeing him, Maria felt something inexplicable. It wasn't just his physical frailty that struck her, but an aura of deep suffering that seemed to emanate from within him. She had never seen someone so vulnerable, so dependent. He looked at her for a moment. His deep, sorrowful eyes met hers. That gaze seemed to touch something Maria didn't want to admit. The fear of the unknown, the discomfort of being in that place, and above all, the feeling that something much bigger was at stake. "You've arrived." His voice was weak, yet it carried an inexplicable authority. "You can begin, Maria. Don't take too long." Maria stepped forward slowly. Her body seemed hesitant, as if trying to understand how she had ended up there, what was truly happening. But as she crouched down to help him, a shiver ran down her spine. He didn't seem as frail as he had appeared. There was something in his demeanor that made her wonder, is he pretending to be weak, or is there something much stranger behind this? The moment she had feared had finally arrived. What was supposed to be a simple task of caring for a debilitated man was beginning to turn into a nightmare she couldn't comprehend. Something in her instincts told her she was stepping into dangerous territory. But what could it be? What is he hiding? Maria no longer knew what to expect. Every passing second in the mansion felt more surreal. She had barely begun taking care of the millionaire when she noticed something strange in the environment. The whispers coming from inside the walls seemed to grow louder. No, she wasn't crazy, there was something very wrong with that house. It was as if everything there was watching, waiting for something. And somehow, Maria knew that the next step could reveal more than she was ready to discover. Maria was starting to get used to the unsettling silence that filled the mansion's hallways. She had already changed the millionaire's diaper and helped him settle back into bed, but there was something strange in every movement he made. The house, which should have felt like a luxurious refuge, seemed more like a prison, as if every object in every corner was hiding a dark secret. She observed the man in the bed with a mix of curiosity and pity. He was large, strong, yet completely incapacitated, as if life itself had drained from him. His muscles seemed to have withered away, his skin was pale and thin, and he could barely move. His gaze, however, was piercing. Something in him still seemed to hold control, as if his mind was far more alert than his body allowed. Maria approached cautiously, wondering how someone could be so imposing one moment and so fragile the next. Her mind struggled to process the disparity between the man he once was and what he had become. She hesitated, looking at him more closely. He watched her with unblinking eyes, showing no signs of exhaustion. "You don't have to look at me like that, Maria," he said, his voice weak but clear. She felt uncomfortable, as if she were being analyzed, as if he knew more about her than she knew about herself. "I'm not looking at you in any way," Maria replied, trying to keep her composure. She didn't want to appear nervous, but the truth was she felt a growing pressure in her chest. Something about this wasn't right. He gave a faint, almost imperceptible smile. It wasn't a friendly smile, but rather an expression of understanding, as if he knew exactly what she was feeling. "I know what you're thinking. I'm not what I seem." He spoke slowly, as if the words were too heavy for him. Maria frowned. What does he mean by that? She looked at him, but before she could say anything, he continued, "They made me this way. It wasn't an accident." His voice now carried more intensity, as if he was trying to convey a truth only he knew. "I was someone before all of this. A powerful man, feared, respected. But now I am an experiment. They did this to me. And now, I need someone like you to help me return to who I truly am." A chill ran down Maria's spine. Experiments? What he was saying seemed impossible. She wasn't sure if she was hearing him correctly, but the expression on his face was one of pure sincerity. What he was saying felt real, yet it still made no sense. "What do you mean by that?" she asked, her voice barely audible. The man closed his eyes for a moment, as if concentrating on finding the right words. "A long time ago, a secret organization took me. They wanted to test the limits of the human mind. And I was the one chosen for the experiment. But what they didn't know," he paused, a bitter smile on his lips, "was that they couldn't control what they created." Maria was frozen in place. What was he saying? It was as if he was trying to convince her of something impossible. But his eyes were clear, and the pain in his voice felt genuine. She swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. "So, what do you want me to do?" she asked, even though she knew her question had no simple answer. He looked at her with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. "You've already started, Maria. You came all this way, and now you will be the key. Only you can help me break what they did to me." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with mystery and a tension Maria had never experienced before. She looked at him, still not fully understanding, but something inside her was beginning to stir. Could he be telling the truth? She knew she needed answers, but at the same time she felt that every question she asked would only pull her deeper into an abyss. What else was he hiding? And more importantly, was she truly prepared to uncover the truth? Maria was in a complete emotional whirlwind. The man's words wouldn't leave her mind. I am an experiment. How could something like this be possible? Secret experiments on human beings? And who exactly would be capable of something so monstrous? She wanted to believe she was just being manipulated by a desperate man, but there was something in his gaze, an unsettling intensity, that made her question reality. She tried to keep her composure and asked, attempting to understand better. How were you chosen for this? What exactly did they do to you? He took a deep breath, his eyes closing as if he were reliving what had happened, and Maria realized that he was truly experiencing his pain all over again. He wasn't making this up, he believed in it with every fiber of his being. Something deep inside her began to awaken. Could it be possible that this man, a once powerful millionaire, was actually telling the truth? I was a businessman highly influential. I had connections with some of the most powerful figures in the world. They came to me disguised, pretending to be scientists and doctors. They convinced me that I could achieve absolute power, that I could control my own mind, control others. They used my ambition against me, Maria. I was a fool. He looked at her with a mixture of regret and anger, as if he still blamed himself for what had happened to him. They put me through a cycle of psychological manipulation, implanted ideas into my mind, and made me believe I was invincible. They wanted to exploit my weaknesses, my insecurities, and when I finally felt strong enough, they tortured me until they shattered all my limits. And that's how they turned me into this, he said, touching his frail body with an expression of disgust. Now I am an experiment. But not just that. They left me like this, broken, soulless. Maria was speechless. The story seemed surreal, but the man in front of her felt real. The emotions he conveyed were real. Every word he spoke made her more anxious, but also more intrigued. She was beginning to understand. This wasn't just about physical or mental pain. Something much bigger was happening. She swallowed hard, trying to find some logical explanation for all of this. But what do you expect from me then? I'm no expert, she began, but he interrupted her. I don't expect a solution, Maria. I expect you to be the key. Maria took a step back, feeling the weight of his words. The key to what? She wanted to ask more questions, but the sensation of losing control over the situation was growing stronger with every passing second. The man seemed to be waiting for her to understand something, but she didn't know what. He looked at her, his eyes deeply tired but also intensely serious. There is something you still don't know, Maria. They put me in this state, but there is still a secret that no one knows. Something they didn't foresee. Something inside me that, if unleashed, will change everything. But you need to figure out what it is. She swallowed hard, feeling the tension in the air grow heavier. Figure out what? The doubt was beginning to turn into fear. Every word he spoke felt like another piece of a dark puzzle, and she wasn't sure if she was ready to put it together. She looked around the mansion as if everything was part of a grand stage in a distorted play. Every painting, every sculpture, everything seemed to have a greater purpose. But what Maria truly wanted to know was, what was the real game behind all of this? She stepped a little closer, trying to maintain her composure, but her fear was beginning to show. His voice became softer, but his words still cut through the air with precision. I was much closer to the answer once, Maria, but they know what I'm looking for. And now, with you here, maybe this is my only chance to finally break this curse. With each passing second, the feeling that she was sinking deeper into something far greater, something impossible to walk away from, only grew stronger. But what did he want from her? Had she been chosen just to help him, or was there something more at play? A question formed in her mind, and she could no longer ignore it. So what exactly are you asking of me? What did they do to you, and what do you want me to do to change everything? His eyes gleamed, a mixture of desperation and hope. I need you to break the curse they put on me, Maria. You are the only one who can. But if you fail, all the secrets of my life, everything you've discovered so far, will turn to dust. And you will never know the truth. The weight of responsibility was beginning to crush her. The pressure on her shoulders was almost unbearable. Could she handle the burden of the truth? Like the video, subscribe to the channel. That night, Maria couldn't sleep. The millionaire's words echoed in her mind like a relentless nightmare. Every sentence seemed to carry a dark truth she wasn't ready to face. I am an experiment, you are the key. How could something like this be real? How could a man so powerful be reduced to this condition? But he seemed convinced. And as much as she wanted to ignore it, something inside her pushed her to continue. The next morning Maria was called back to the mansion. The millionaire seemed frail, but his eyes were more alive than ever. He watched her carefully as if expecting something from her, but before she could speak, he gestured for her to come closer. "Maria, you have to understand something." His voice was lower, almost a whisper, but filled with urgency. "What I'm about to tell you cannot be repeated. Ever." Maria swallowed hard, feeling that every word he spoke carried a much heavier weight than anything she had ever heard before. "There is a room in this house. A place where it all began." He paused, his eyes drifting as if reliving the moments that had marked him. "But to get there you'll have to overcome obstacles. They don't want you to discover the truth." Maria frowned. A secret room? This sounded more like a mystery movie than reality. But he was serious, and there was something in his expression that told her he wasn't joking. Obstacles? She didn't know if she was ready for what was coming next, but one thing was certain: she needed to know more. She needed to understand what was happening in that house and what he was truly hiding. "I'll help you, but you have to tell me exactly what's going on here. What does this room contain? What is so important about it?" Maria asked, her voice trembling but determined. The millionaire looked at her with a piercing gaze, as if evaluating whether he could trust her with the full truth. "You're not ready for the truth, Maria, but you'll have to be. The answer is in that room. What you discover there will change everything you think you know, about me, about them, and about yourself." A shiver ran down Maria's spine. Them? Who were they? It was becoming increasingly clear that this story involved something far bigger than she had imagined. This wasn't just about a wealthy man seeking recovery, it was a far more dangerous game, one that involved power, manipulation, and perhaps even lives. She looked at him, determined to move forward. "Where is this room? How do I get there?" He made a vague gesture with his hand, signaling her to follow. Maria walked alongside him, anxiety coursing through her body. She had no idea what to expect, but something inside her told her that this would be the moment when the pieces of the puzzle would finally start to fit together. As they walked through the dark corridors of the mansion, Maria felt a strange sensation, like she was being watched. The atmosphere was tense and she couldn't understand why. Why did this mansion feel alive? There was something in the air that unsettled her, but she couldn't turn back. She had to uncover the truth. When they reached a door discreetly hidden behind a tapestry, the millionaire stopped. He looked at her with an expression of sorrow, as if he were saying goodbye to something irreversible. "What you'll find inside, Maria, may be more than you can bear. But you need to enter. Only then can you decide whether to go on, or leave this house forever." The door creaked open, revealing a room shrouded in dense shadows, as if time had frozen there. Inside, shelves were filled with ancient objects, yellowed documents, and leather-bound books. But what truly caught Maria's attention was a small glass box in the center of the room, dimly lit by a weak lamp, as if it had been deliberately placed there. She didn't know why, but something about it pulled her in with an inexplicable force. The millionaire stepped into the room but immediately took a step back, as if afraid to get too close to the box. He looked at her with a dark, meaningful expression and said, almost as a warning, "Don't touch anything in here, Maria. What's inside that box is the secret that destroyed me. And you need to decide if you're ready to face it. If you touch it, nothing will ever be the same again." The air in the room grew heavier, charged with a strange energy. Maria stared at the box, her heart pounding faster with each passing second. What could be inside that box that would change everything? She felt an uncontrollable urge to know, yet something inside her hesitated. What if she was about to dive into something she couldn't control? Time seemed to stop in that moment. Whatever was about to happen, Maria knew one thing for certain. Her life would never be the same again. Maria stood frozen before the glass box, her mind torn between curiosity and fear. The millionaire watched her with an intensity that nearly suffocated her, as if every move she made brought her one step closer to something irreversible. She knew she should step away, that she should listen to his warning and leave. But something inside her screamed for her to uncover what was inside. What could be so important that he fears me seeing it? The millionaire seemed to know exactly what she was thinking. He took a step toward the box but quickly backed away, as if merely approaching it was a violation of something much greater. "Maria, you don't understand. What's inside that box isn't just the secret about me. It's the secret about all of us." His voice wavered as if he were on the verge of breaking. "What you're about to see is what I was forced to do. What they made me do." Maria took a hesitant step toward the box, her mind a storm of questions. What is he saying? She was just about to reach out and touch it when suddenly, the millionaire lunged in front of her, gripping her arm with unexpected strength. "No. he shouted, his eyes wide with panic. "You can't open it. You're not ready for the truth." Maria looked into his eyes, confused and frustrated. What could be so terrible that he'd rather leave me in ignorance? She jerked her arm free with a swift motion, feeling his grip weaken as if he were losing the strength to resist. "I'm not leaving here without understanding what's going on," she said, her voice firm and determined. The millionaire closed his eyes, a deep sigh escaping his lips. He looked defeated, as if he had reached a point where there was no turning back. You won't believe what you're about to see," he murmured almost to himself. But Maria was determined. She knew there was no more time for hesitation. She had to know what was hidden there. With a slow movement, Maria touched the glass box. The instant her fingers made contact with it, a wave of energy surged through her body, an indescribable sensation as if she had been electrocuted. She felt an immense pressure in her mind, a force so strong that she nearly fell to her knees. But when she opened her eyes, something indescribable happened. Inside the box there were no ordinary objects. It was as if the box was a time capsule, a capsule of memories, of untold stories, and of a human being. A photograph, an old black and white picture, was placed inside, carefully positioned. But what Maria saw nearly made her lose consciousness. In the photograph there was a man, young, with a familiar face. He wasn't the millionaire she knew, but there was something about him that made her feel an instant connection. The man in the photo had the same piercing gaze, the same eyes. He was smiling, but his smile wasn't genuine. It was the smile of someone who knew something no one else did. Maria swallowed hard, trying to process what she was seeing. She turned to look at the millionaire, who was now on his knees, his eyes locked on the photograph. This is impossible," Maria whispered, her mind spinning with the revelation. "No, Maria. It's not impossible," the millionaire said, his voice trembling. "The man in that photo is me. But also he's not. It's who I was before the experiment. They did something to my memory, something that erased who I really am. They created this identity, this person you see now." Maria was stunned. What is he saying? Is he saying that he's someone else? The millionaire looked weak, but the pain in his eyes was undeniable. He was giving himself up to her, letting her see the most vulnerable part of his soul. "I used to be someone, Maria. I had a life, a family. I was about to change the world, until they took me. And now they're trying to erase everything that's left of me. They didn't want me to have a life. They wanted to control my mind, my identity. I'm not who I used to be anymore, and no matter how hard I try, I can't go back." Maria looked at the photograph again, trying to comprehend what he was saying. The image of the young, smiling man completely contrasted with the broken man in front of her. The revelation was overwhelming, but another question formed in her mind. If he's not who he claims to be, then who is he really? And what did he do to become this person? She closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her strength to face the truth. When she opened them again, she knew there was no turning back. The truth was right there in front of her. But now she had to decide, was she willing to face everything that would come next? The millionaire, still on his knees, lifted his head and met her gaze as if waiting for her reaction. "Maria, now you know who I am. And more importantly, you know what's at stake. What are you going to do now?" Maria felt as if the ground had been ripped out from beneath her feet. The revelation about the millionaire left her speechless. Who he was and what he had become seemed beyond anything she could have imagined. The photo was still in her hands, and despite the confusion, there was something about it that unsettled her. She looked at the millionaire, who now seemed more like an ordinary man, broken by life, rather than an untouchable and unbeatable human being. Could it really be possible that he had been a victim? But what he was saying about the experiment, the memory manipulation, sounded more like a science fiction nightmare than reality. The silence in the room was dense, heavy, as if time had stopped so she could make a decision. What should she do now? Help him or leave him alone in his pain? Maria felt the weight of responsibility. She knew that the truth was no longer just about him but about her as well. She had seen the depths of the matter. She couldn't walk away and pretend nothing had happened. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice low but firm. The millionaire looked at her, his eyes now a mixture of despair and hope. He seemed to be searching for something in her. Maybe understanding. Maybe forgiveness. But more than anything, perhaps someone who would help free him from his own past. "I need help, Maria. I need you to go after the ones who did this to me. To all of us." His voice trembled, but there was a strength inside him that she hadn't noticed before. "They are more powerful than you can imagine, but you are my last chance. I know where they are. I know what they are doing. Maria felt a wave of compassion mixed with a growing fear. She was about to get involved in something far bigger than anything she had ever faced in her life. She knew that if she continued, there would be no turning back. It would be a descent into the abyss with no guarantees of survival. But something inside her told her she couldn't turn her back now. She had seen what he had become. He wasn't lying. He was lost, and if she didn't help him, he might never find his way back. She took a deep breath, looking at the millionaire who was watching her with desperate intensity. "And if I agree to help you, what else are you hiding? What haven't you told me?" He hesitated for a moment as if struggling against his own demons. Finally, he took a step toward her and in a low voice said, "I'm not the only one who's trapped. They've done more experiments. Many other people are involved. I was one of them, but there are others who have the power to change everything, to control everything. And the worst part, they're closer than you think." Maria felt a shiver run down her spine. Others? Who were these people? And how did he know so much about them? He had mentioned that she was the key, but now his words felt even more disturbing. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, unable to hide the tension in her voice. The millionaire took one last look at the photo in her hands and with a heavy sigh answered, "I need you to find Project Zero. They're trying to regain control and only you can stop them from winning. What happened to me was just the beginning. If you don't stop this now, the entire world could be in danger." The room seemed to spin. Maria didn't know if she could handle more secrets, more mysteries, more lies. But something in her heart told her there was no other choice. She had to get to the bottom of all this. She looked at him, her gaze now steadier than ever. She wasn't just helping someone, she was getting involved in something much bigger than she could understand. But whatever it was, she could no longer turn back. "I'll help you," Maria said, her voice resolute. "But after this, you have to tell me everything. No more secrets." The millionaire gave a faint smile, relieved as if years of suffering had been lifted from him. He knew she had no idea what she was about to face. But he also knew that if anyone had a chance to change their fate, it was her. The mansion door closed behind them with a muffled sound, and Maria felt as if she were stepping over the edge of a bottomless abyss. What had she just committed herself to? And more importantly, who was she really helping? As they moved away from the mansion, Maria couldn't help but wonder, was she playing with fire? And who, or what, was waiting for her at the next turn in her journey? Maria's journey was nearing its end, but what she didn't know was that the real challenge was only just beginning. She and the millionaire had followed clues, uncovered secrets, faced dangers, but as they neared the heart of Project Zero, the truth was about to be revealed in a way she never imagined. They arrived at an old abandoned building hidden on the outskirts of the city. A disguised fortress built to protect the darkest of secrets. The millionaire looked frail, but the flame of hope in his eyes had never burned so brightly. He had found the way, but now Maria would have to be the strength he could no longer be. They stepped inside the building, their footsteps echoing against the walls. There was a tension in the air, something Maria couldn't quite identify but felt in every fiber of her being. The room before them was illuminated by a cold light, and in the center, a massive device seemed to pulse with a life of its own. This was Project Zero. What they had built to control minds, manipulate memories, and create beings that could be used as puppets. Maria looked at the millionaire, sensing that this was the moment to face the ultimate truth. "What do you need to do?" she asked, her voice tight with anxiety. He didn't answer right away. His expression was filled with silent pain, an understanding of what needed to be done, but also a deep fear of it. I need to destroy the project's core. It's the heart of all this. If I can destroy it, the manipulation, the pain, all of it will end. But I can't do it alone, Maria. You are my last chance." Maria looked at the device. Destroying the core meant risking everything, but there was no more time for hesitation. She felt a wave of courage rise within her. She was there for a reason. And that reason was stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. She knew that the only way to stop the pain, the manipulation, the suffering that had been inflicted on so many people was to make this decision. "Whatever you need from me, I'll do it," she said, her voice steadier than ever. The millionaire smiled, and for the first time he looked like a free man, though not completely. He walked over to the control panel and began typing, activating the destruction sequence for the core. But as he did, he looked at her with an expression of pain and gratitude. "Maria, you have no idea how much I thank you for coming this far. For giving me a chance to be someone again, for showing me that there is goodness in the world, even after everything I've done. But you need to know that by destroying this, you won't be able to go back to your old life. Things will change forever." Maria didn't hesitate. "I'm not afraid of that. I just want people to be free. I don't want anyone else to suffer what I've seen." The millionaire pressed a final button, and the entire building began to shake. The device at the center of the room let out a metallic sound, and a wave of energy surged through the space. Maria felt a growing pressure in her chest, as if the very building was trying to resist its destruction. But then everything calmed. A bright light illuminated the room, and Maria closed her eyes, feeling an overwhelming sense of relief. It was as if a massive weight had been lifted from the world. When she opened her eyes again, the millionaire was on his knees, his face overflowing with gratitude. He had fulfilled his mission, but more than that, he had given Maria something even more precious: the chance to start over, to make a difference. Maria looked at him and saw something she never thought she would: peace. He had finally found his path to redemption. "You did the right thing, Maria. Now we can walk toward freedom," he said, his voice soft and full of emotion. Maria smiled, feeling a mixture of sadness and happiness at the same time. She had sacrificed so much to get here, but she knew this was her truth. She might not have all the answers, but she knew she had made a difference. "Now we're free," she said, her voice heavy with emotion as she looked at the millionaire, his face illuminated for the first time in a long time. And in that moment, in the midst of the destruction of what had once been a mental prison, Maria understood the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes freedom isn't just about what you gain, but about what you choose to leave behind. The millionaire stood up, and for the first time, Maria no longer saw a lost man, but someone who had found his way. He was ready to face whatever came next, and Maria, now with a lighter heart, knew that their lives were just beginning. The building collapsed behind them, but they didn't look back. They had destroyed the source of all the pain. The future was now theirs to shape. And as the sun began to rise on the horizon, illuminating a renewed world, Maria and the millionaire walked away, ready to embark on a new journey. A journey of hope. A journey of freedom. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more thrilling stories. See you next time.